RFK recently, and it's a little bit odd. He says that he'd take Biden over RFK Jr. and even said his views on vaccines are fake. Personally, I won't be voting for RFK Jr. once I realize that he caves on the same exact topic that everybody in Congress and politics caves to except for Thomas Massie. I stopped paying attention to his campaign. With that being said, why does Donald Trump always have to pathologically lie about things in order to make his opponents look bad? He did this with DeSantis, who I didn't vote for in the primaries, trying to gaslight people into thinking that it's just the warm weather and the beaches and the sunshine.
Even Charlie Crist, a Democrat, did a good job, but he had very good numbers. Sunshine and ocean are very alluring. It's not too hard to work with those factors. So just remember, Florida was doing really well long before Ron DeSantis got there.
California disproves that. It's got better geography, better climate, and people are leaving. The politics are the reason, not the climate. As someone who voted for Donald Trump, votes Republican, why doesn't Trump lean into the truth? That's when he was the best. I feel like he thinks so lowly of his supporters that he knows he could lie about stuff like this and nobody will say anything.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it.
Especially fake journalists who are pretty much just professional dick riders and political activists cosplaying as cowboys and patriots. RFK has done one of the best jobs explaining vaccine liability shields for the last 10-20 years, and Trump did take $1 million from Pfizer. He did hire Big Pharma to run HHS and FDA, and one of his billionaire donor buddies is Johnson & Johnson. So who's the fake one, Trump?
And they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. You know,
What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about Trump's Truth Social post where he was going after RFK. Understandable. RFK is running for office. I'm not voting for RFK. I'm not sure why RFK is even running in this election. It doesn't seem to really make sense. However, if you're going to badmouth or talk about RFK, call him too far left, say he's a Democrat, his environmental policies are bad, it's all fair game. Why do you have to lie and pick certain things that RFK is telling the truth about and try to invert reality and say that it's fake when you're the fake one? This is my issue I'm going to talk about. Read the entire Truth Social post, see exactly what Trump said. Then I want to give you my opinion after, not only why this is a huge mistake for him because he's climbing up a tree that I don't really think benefits him for this election. As somebody that thinks, he has a way better chance than RFK, I just think he's going to lose more votes and lose more respect for doing this. Thank you for joining me today on this lovely Saturday evening. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if the audio is good, and give me a thumbs up in the algorithm for YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Dream Rare Podcast, Super Saturday edition starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, folks? I'm on that Americano today. You already know. I was doing lattes for a while, then I was doing coffees. Now I'm on that Americana, just raw American. Real Americans drink American. No, okay, stop. Let's read the post. Let's go over a few things, and then let's talk about it. So here's the post that I saw, and it's so many head slappers. I'm like, why? And I agree with like a lot of what he's saying, but the end, it's like, why are you doing this again, Trump? So strange. I'll read it in my Trump voice. He said, I lived with RFK Jr. in New York, and I watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were outright nasty, all caps lock, of course. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over this part of the country, but especially upstate New York and New England. Their energy costs are the highest in the U.S., with the exception of California, run by Gavin Newsom, the worst governor in the state's history. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would at least last a year or two longer prior to collapse, but it would be dead either way. His views on vaccines are fake, as is everything about his candidacy. Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him. Okay. So first thing I thought, besides the vaccine part, obviously, is he said Gavin Newsom, which is like a funny play on words. Trump's good with the nicknames. I'm not offended by the nicknames. Some people are like, grow up. I'm like, I kind of find them funny. as long as they're actually funny, like DeSanctis and DeSanctimonious, that was kind of corny, but like, you know, New Scum is pretty funny. But the thing is, it's like, so do you think Gavin Newsom is scum, or do you like him because of during COVID, you guys were working together and he was complimenting you so he could do communist policies in California? Trump's fighting Gavin Newsom until COVID. Trump's like taking photo ops with him, saying he's doing, you know, like doing really good job for COVID, and they're working together to give ventilators and vaccines. And it's like, I remember this clip of Tucker Carlson, which was not that long ago, within the last couple of years, where he said he gets along great with Gavin Newsom and he would never badmouth Gavin Newsom because, you know, Gavin Newsom's so nice to him.
I used to get along great with him, you know, when I was president. I got along really good, Gavin.
Well, you got along with Gavin Newsom?
I did. I really did. He was always very nice to me. He said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job. Oh, he was very
About
nice.
you?
About me. That's why I could never hit him, because he was so nice to me. I used to get along great with him, you know, when I was president. I got along really good, Gavin.
Well, you got along with Gavin Newsom?
I did. I really did. He was always very nice to me. He said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job.
So he could never hit Gavin Newsom because Gavin Newsom was so nice to him. That's kind of how I see Trump and MAGA now. You know, I don't tell people much because it's like walking into a mental institution. The people that are still brainwashed by Trump, they don't understand the dynamic. They think you like Biden. It's like talking to a 5-year-old. But anyway, when you listen to stuff like that, and he's like, I used to get along great with him. I can't really hit him. And then he calls him new scum. You realize this pattern with pretty much everybody politically with Trump. Trump hired Bill Barr, but now on Twitter or like True Social or whatever it is, he's like, Bill Barr is really ugly. Or like he had some diss for Bill Barr this week. It was like 20 paragraphs long. Not really, but like you get what I'm saying. This huge True Social where he's like, Bill Barr, he's endorsing me, but he's still disgusting or whatever he says. And then like Charlie Kirk and all these like fanboys, it's like Taylor Swift band, think, oh my gosh, Trump posted about Bill Burr. It's like, shut up, dude. You're a grown man. You act like a 5-year-old girl at a Taylor Swift concert over a True Social post about somebody that Trump literally hired. It's like, did you see the joke he made about Christopher Wray? It's like he hired him. Bill Barr, he hired him. Hillary Clinton, he never locked her up. In fact, he gave her a standing ovation after he won presidency and said that, you know, her and Bill Clinton, he had them stand up and gave them a standing ovation to say what a great job they did. So like this whole dynamic to when he calls like Gavin Newsom scum, like you almost have to be really stupid at this point to believe that like he's like Gavin Newsom, the guy that I just said a couple months ago that I really get along with, that I would never hit because he's so nice to me. But it's like, it's just like this constant little like weird circus game he's playing. But I want to focus on the part that I think kind of matters for the point of this video. At the bottom, he chose to fight RFK on the one thing that RFK is good on. I think like Monsanto food regulation and the vaccines, you know. RFK, I don't care about him because his stance is identical to Pelosi, Schumer, Trump, DeSantis, the entire uniparty besides Thomas Massie on Israel. And he seems to be the exact type of politician who would pass anti-Semitism hate speech laws, because RFK seems like a total fraud, in my opinion. But he is really good. Even when I talk the truth about RFK and what his weak point is and what he is uniparty on, I'll also be like, but he is very good on pharmaceuticals, and he has decades of work where he's pointed out some crazy things that Monsanto and the pharmaceutical industry does. That's called honest criticism with like real analysis. Donald Trump is the most petty, dishonest person in the world when people beef with him, to the point where he will do and say anything he can in order to make the other person look bad. I played it for the intro, but half of the people weren't here. I'm just going to replay this short clip real quick. Not my full reel, but this clip of when Trump was running against DeSantis. My problem was never that Trump was running against DeSantis. My problem was never that he was pointing out that DeSantis was sneaky. It's just Trump was never pointing out the real things that DeSantis was sneaky on. Because if he pointed out the real things DeSantis was being sneaky on, Trump is also guilty of all those same things, including half of what he talked about with DeSantis. Oh, he's got rhino Bush people around him. It's like, didn't you hire over 50 Bush people for your administration? And weren't you just on stage with Lindsey Graham? Like, isn't that equivalent to what you're accusing? But he almost like brainwashed MAGA into them not knowing anything because they just listen to Donald Trump like a pull string doll, to the point where when you try to talk to these people, It's like walking into a mental institution where they only know one of 5 phrases and they know that Ron DeSantis sucks, but they're not even really sure why, because nothing Donald Trump is saying about DeSantis actually makes sense. And this is coming from someone in myself that I didn't even vote for DeSantis in the primary. I'm just not an idiot. My brain is not a rock. My IQ is not 7. And I don't hate myself enough to allow another man to lie to me. But that seems to be not very common. But here's the video of Trump trying so desperately to make DeSantis look bad that he tried to say that the sunny weather and the beaches were the reason that Florida was fine, and that even a Democrat did just as good of a job.
Even Charlie Crist, a Democrat, did a good job, and he had very good numbers. Sunshine and ocean are very alluring. It's not too hard to work with those factors. So just remember, Florida was doing really well long before Ron DeSantis.
So if it's not hard to work with sunshine, why isn't California booming? There's a lot of open land. Why are so many people leaving California? Why are millions of people flocking to Florida and millions of people leaving California? I'm sorry, Florida, swampland, no offense, but it's just true. A lot of it's swamp. California has better geography. It has better mountains. It has better temperature. It has, I would say, dreamy type landscape. The surf and the ocean's debatable depending what you like, but there's nothing wrong with California, the geography or the beaches or the sun. I mean, it's one of the greatest places in the world. But still, despite being one of the greatest places in the world, millions of people are running away. But I thought it was easy for sunshine and beach. It's not. That's not the dynamic of politics in America at all. I wish it was. But because Gavin Newsom and the Democrats and the city suck and the culture sucks in California, not all of it, but I'm just saying the one that's dominating state legislature, the state is falling apart. So it's like, I want to play this clip again because it's like, at this point, it's like Trump is weeding out any people with a brain. I'm convinced at this point that there's millions of men that would let Donald Trump slap their wife, bang their wife, and literally tell them to get on their knees and lick dirt off it like, a bunch of these self-hating white people do to black activists. I'm convinced that's millions of men who call themselves Trumpers at this point. Like, they don't even respect themselves enough to say anything ever. So Trump has just gotten worse and worse and worse over these last couple of years, where he doesn't even think about telling the truth anymore because he doesn't have to. He's like, my supporters are so stupid, and the men who support me are such pathetic cucks that literally I can convince them that Ron DeSantis is a rhino because Florida was good with a Democrat because of the sunny weather. And they're going to either completely ignore it, like the little boys that they are, or they're going to make some sort of hypothetical, which, if you really want to be honest, there's a reason why millions of Trump supporters now are like mental patients, where they literally think that Donald Trump is in some underground tunnel somewhere secretly running the military, because that's really what it takes to still justify who Donald Trump is and what he's done, infringing on the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, printing more money than Obama, and then running around selling vaccines like Bill Gates on steroids. Of course, if anybody has a brain, a soul, an IQ over 5, something squishy in their head that's not just a rock, they're like, wait a second, I voted for Trump twice, but something's off. I still want to vote for him over RFK and DeSantis, but this is a little weird. There are people like that, but then for every person like that, there's 20, bang my wife, Trump, bang my wife. Like, no soul, no spine, no brain, just a pathetic bunch of NPC drones. Like, how, if someone says this to you, they're literally like telling you, I think you're stupid. And you're like, thank you, Daddy.
Even Charlie Crist, a Democrat, did a good job, and he had very good numbers. Sunshine and ocean are very alluring. It's not too hard to work with those factors. So just remember, Florida was doing really well long before Ron DeSantis got there.
Sunshine and beaches and nice weather means it's easy to run, and the governor of Florida deserves no credit for the great job that he's mostly done, although he has done a few shady things. The actual shady things DeSantis has done is flew to a foreign country to pass a hate speech law against the First Amendment, which is insane. But Donald Trump never talks about that, because Donald Trump passes the same hate speech laws, and the same foreign country that Ron DeSantis flew to pass those hate speech laws is a country that Donald Trump has said used to literally own Congress. And then Trump went on a radio show to justify why he thinks a foreign country should literally own Congress, and it's bad when a foreign country doesn't own Congress. So that's real. Most people are like, I've never heard that. Well, that's because Trump has scrambled your brain into like SpaghettiOs or like really runny, scrambled mac and cheese. So like, of course you've never heard it because nobody will report on it, because a bunch of these loser men that call themselves journalists or news analysts or patriots and cowboys, they're really just cosplaying for Mar-a-Lago stakes and social opportunities and to run their business out of Mar-a-Lago. And the second that they actually do an ounce of real journalism for their country, for the First Amendment, for the Constitution, for the family, for their ancestors, you know, they don't do that. They just sit around and literally lick the dirt off his shoes and tell them it tastes like chocolate pudding, because that's what a real patriot does, right, guys? Wait, what did he say about the beaches and sunny weather again? I'm trying to think of a person who runs a really sunny, nice area of the country that's perhaps even nicer than Florida, that has millions of people running away because of the policies. Who's that guy again? Can you remind me, Donald Trump?
I used to get along great with him, when I was president. I got along really good, Gavin.
Well, you got along with Gavin Newsom?
I did. I really did. He was always very nice to me. He said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job. Oh, he was very nice.
About you?
About me. That's why I could never hit him, because he was so nice to me. I used to get along great.
Damn, I wish you extended that niceness that you had for Gavin Newsom, that you didn't want to hit him. Too bad you couldn't extend that niceness to Thomas Massie, who's the only good person in Congress, who you tried to kick out of the Republican Party in 2020 for telling the truth about the lockdowns and the Communist CARES Act. Thomas Massie was the only congressman in Congress who spoke up and said this is a travesty. And Donald Trump tried to kick him out of the party while he ran around doing radio shows saying that he thinks that a foreign country should own our Congress. This is all real. But, if your brain is controlled by only what Trump says, or the false paradigm between left and right, or Biden and Trump, or Trump and RFK, and Trump and DeSantis, then you might never know these things or hear these things, because he's never going to talk about these things. So if your understanding is only what he says, or the fake paradigm that you see on television or social media, then you're always going to be ignorant, and you're going to end up as clueless as a Rachel Maddow watcher with blue hair that has 7,000 cats, and she could potentially start an army with the amount of cats that she has and the amount of mess that they leave in her little New York apartment. You understand? And this is why it's so important. Before I even get into the RFK, we've always said with Democrats, up is up, down is down, left is left, right is right. 1 + 1 is 2. If we lose those fundamentals, if they say, well, technically down is up, right is left, there's 5,000 genders, a man can have a baby, and 1 + 1 might be 3, says Harvard. Now we have nothing. Nothing is real. Math doesn't matter. What's the point of even talking or running a country if we can't even agree on up, down, left, right, man, woman, 1 + 1 = 2? So when it comes to this false paradigm between Trump versus DeSantis, one of the things that I noticed, besides the fact that everybody was acting psychotic, was not the fact that people were calling out DeSantis. I have called out DeSantis. I didn't vote for DeSantis in the primary. I could, to be honest, care less about DeSantis, as far as like, my job is not to defend or protect him from political scrutiny. But the craziest thing to me, when I talk to my friends, when I talk to people at events, not everybody, of course, but people who like Trump based off of what Trump said, it just got to this point where I felt like I was talking to a blue-haired liberal, where you say left is right, or left is left and right is right, and up is down, and 1 + 1 is 2. And they go, well, technically 1 + 1 is 3, and the rhinos, and the rhinos, and 1 + 1 is 4, and down is up, and technically left is right, and right is left. And it's like, yeah, I understand we have a lot of the same policies. I understand that we're registered to the same party. We might even vote the same, but like, you're not making any sense. And if nothing makes sense anymore, you have no power. You don't have a brain. We don't have a culture. You're literally just like a NPC sheep watching a guy and taking your orders from an 80-year-old vaccine salesman who did a deal with Bill Gates in 2018, or talked about a deal in 2018, and then did it in 2019. So it's like, it's not simply, oh, you voted for Trump over DeSantis, or you're voting for Trump over RFK. I actually think it makes more sense to vote for Trump over RFK. But I can't say anything without, and I know a lot of people get it, so I don't want to over exaggerate, but it's like the people that don't get it, like they'll be like, well, who do you want me to vote for then? And I'm like, bro, I'm a news analyst. I know. And then sometimes people condescendingly tell me like, oh, you should go run for Congress if you want to do something. I'm doing journalism. At one point, before the brains of Americans were melted into piss, everybody knew that the politicians did politics, the American people paid attention, and news analysts and journalists were supposed to be doing journalism, which is a very important role in society to hold major corporations, the pharmaceutical industry, accountable Back in the day, even Mike Wallace used to hold, and 60 Minutes used to hold the pharmaceutical industry accountable. Now, the brains of Americans are so rotted, not only does nearly no media network hold Big Pharma accountable or the politicians selling out to them, when you do it, it's not just the left getting mad that you're doing it, it's the right getting mad that you're doing it because their party's in on it and their guys in on it, and they don't want to admit their guys in on it, so they don't even understand what you're talking about. Like, I'm not telling you to vote for RFK. I'm not telling you to not vote for Trump. I'm reporting reality. 1 + 1 is still 2. Up is up, down is down, left is left, right is right. Is that a threat to your vote? If that's a threat to your vote, what's wrong with you? You have to lie to yourself to vote. If you can't vote for Trump without being like, yeah, he's the lesser of two evils. Yeah, he's better. Yeah, I like this. But then you realize that these people haven't been challenged in 3 or 4 years. They'll write things in the comments and be like, well, remember life under Trump? 2020 was under Trump. That was a whole year of communist lockdowns. I'm not saying it's entirely his fault. I'm just saying, like, are you gaslighting me? It would be like saying there was no racial division during Obama. Like, there actually was. Well, there were no riots for 7 years during Obama, but the 8th year there was riots. It's not necessarily Obama's fault, although he played some sort of role, but it did happen during his term. Are you going to lie and act like that happened during Trump's turn when it was in 2016 when Biden was still in office? Or I'm sorry, Obama was still in office? It's like 2020. These people, like, they're making points, but none of their points make sense because they're not living in reality, and they're not living in reality anymore because they're following Donald Trump, who has to pathologically lie about people he's running against in order to win, which is bizarre. Why not just point out that RFK is far left? Why not point out his environmental policies? Why not point out the fact that RFK is a Democrat and he can't be trusted and he's working with Democrat donors? Isn't that enough? You have to go and say his vaccines are fake? No, you're a fake, Donald Trump. You took $1 million from Pfizer, you fraud. And I'm a real man, not like David Harris Jr. and a bunch of these other little like minions where they just run around, slurp up Mar-a-Lago face with this stupid smile on their face, selling out their country, selling out their constitution, completely clueless. Their brains are like peanuts. Anytime they're presented with the truth, they don't want to talk about it because it's not, good for their audience, because their audience is as dumbed down as they are. It's like annoying. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like Donald Trump took $1 million from Pfizer. And none of these little, despicable me minions want to report on it because they don't want to lose access to Mar-a-Lago events and parties with country stars and celebrities because they're not interesting people. And they know without sucking off of Donald Trump's aura like a Slurpee, they have no career. They have no money. They probably don't even have like the social circle that they got off of it. So they're going to suck Donald Trump's aura like a Slurpee, even if it means the country falling apart around them, because they just don't give a shit about anything. Not the Constitution, not the First Amendment. All of these people know that the First Amendment's been sold out for a foreign country. Everybody knows it. Trump did it in 2019. DeSantis did it. Matt Walsh only talked about it when Candace got fired, and everybody realized that Daily Wire was what everybody already knew they were. So it's like it's the same dynamic with Trump. The reason Trump doesn't do any of this stuff is because he's surrounded by a bunch of little despicable me minions with stupid grins on their face and IQs the size of a third grade math equation, keeping it small for the little babies. And, the second you point this stuff out, everybody freaks out because they've never heard it, because they don't realize that they're in an echo chamber of complete frauds. RFK, say what you want about him. Call him too far left. Call him a Democrat. But saying that he's fake about vaccines, Donald Trump's going to say that? The father of the vaccine, Donald Trump, the man who took $1 million from Pfizer, the man who hired Alex Azar for HHS, the pharmaceutical lobbyist Trump put 2 layers above Anthony Fauci. Everybody talks about Fauci. They never talk about the fact that Trump took $1 million from Pfizer and hired a pharmaceutical lobbyist 2 steps above Fauci. And then Trump gave an award to Anthony Fauci on his way out of office, and an award to the HHS director that he hired, who was a pharmaceutical lobbyist. He hired a Pfizer guy, Scott Gottlieb, who was a revolving door pharmaceutical guy, did what he had to do for Big Pharma at FDA, and then ran back to a board, I believe, for Pfizer. Trump's handprints are all over this stuff. He took a meeting with Bill Gates in 2018. In 2019, he's passing a universal flu vaccine executive order, which is what Bill Gates said in 2018 he told Trump to do. That's the guy that's going to say RFK Jr. is fake on vaccines. You know why he can say this stuff? Because he's surrounded by a bunch of cucks. The grown men who suck off of Trump's aura are cucks. They would let Trump fuck their wife, slap their wife, spank their wife on the ass, spit in these guys' face, and tell them, get on your knees and lick the dirt off my shoes. And these guys would do it for money, social status, and career. They're frauds. They're sellouts. They're cowards. They don't care about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. They care about it so long as they can pretend like it's only the left. They care about it so much as they can pretend like it's only the Democrats or it's only the rhinos. That's why when you try to talk to these people, it's like talking to a mental asylum or a child. It's like, well, DeSantis is a rhino. Yeah, DeSantis is a rhino because he sold out the First Amendment in Florida for a foreign nation. But that's not why you think. Why do you think DeSantis is a rhino? I think DeSantis is a rhino because I repeat what Trump told me on Truth Social. You're stupid. He is a Bush guy. Trump hired 50 plus Bush guys. He's around rhinos. Donald Trump is on stage with Lindsey Graham. Donald Trump just whipped up a bunch of votes in Congress in order to pass one of the most traitorous bills in modern history for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, $100 million foreign aid bill that we were using in the House as leverage to get border funding, which they just decided, oh, fuck you guys. Fuck you little losers. We're not even going to get the border. And all you pathetic men are like, well, I still get invited to Mar-a-Lago, right? Yeah, you do, fucktard. You still get the money. You still get the social circles. You still get the clout and the stakes because you're a little sellout. You're the rhino. No, I thought the Rhino DeSantis was the rhino. You're the rhino, scumbag. And he's the rhino. But you don't even know why he's the rhino because you don't have any thoughts of your own. You don't think. You don't do research. You just, Donald Trump shits and you eat his shit and then you regurgitate the shit you just ate. Like a pathetic dog. Bark, bark, bark. Go eat your cattle. Go eat your cattle fodder. Mom, 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 mom. It's pathetic. I have no problem with Donald Trump calling out RFK. But the real problem with RFK, the real thing that makes him a puppet, the real thing that makes him like everybody else, Donald Trump will never talk about. Do you know why? Because Donald Trump is exactly the same. And Congress is exactly the same. And they're all the same except for Thomas Massey. Even the little, the Freedom Caucus dogs like Matt Gaetz who bark, 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 bark. And they always tell you the truth until it comes to this topic. Then they say nothing. Bark, 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 bark. Back on the leash. Bark, 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 bark. Everybody but Thomas Massey has no balls in Congress or no soul, or they're just actors, or they're afraid. I don't know. But either way, I don't need to listen to somebody that I know is afraid or lying. It's not intellectually stimulating or in any way helpful to me. With that being said, Trump is like a constant diversion. He's like always making the talking point about something that it's not. 1 + 1 is now 3. There's tens of millions of people that think that 1 + 1 is 17. Trust the plan, 17 QAnon. It's got to be this, that, this, because they can't believe reality because reality is not good to them. Telling the truth to themselves like an adult with a brain is scary to them because the truth is not what they want it to be. So they act like little kids on a playground, pretending like they're Power Rangers, running around saying that they're fighting the deep state by pathologically lying to themselves, ignoring their family, and running around with cues on their head saying that like Trump is secretly in control of the military when he's absolutely not. Our country is absolutely being controlled right now, but it's not by Donald Trump. It's not by Joe Biden. It's by something else that's controlling our country. But you dipshits can't figure it out because you're too busy like eating shit for a living. It's embarrassing. So it's like to some people 1 + 1 is 7. To some people 1 + 1 is 4. But then they just talk about liberals all the time, where they're liberals can't even understand that a man and a man is a woman is a woman. You're the same way with other topics. I don't care that Trump points out the flaws in RFK. I personally think there's more strategic value to Donald Trump winning than RFK. Because if RFK was the actual Democratic nominee, then it would be a different story. But he's an independent. He's an outsider. He picked an interesting election to run in. I don't think he can win. I only think that he can do the Ross Perot thing, which is either help Trump win or help Biden win. It seems like Trump thinks that he's helping Biden winning. So now Trump wants to attack him. And then he attacks him on the one thing that RFK is actually good at, that Trump is pathologically lying about. But Trump knows that the people that follow him will believe anything. So it's the same thing with Ron DeSantis. I will forgive, but I will never forget what Donald Trump did when he was running against DeSantis. He moved the Overton window to basically make it impossible to talk about COVID because Ron DeSantis did a better job than most Republicans on COVID. Ron DeSantis turned the corner. It was him versus Gavin Newsom. He crushed Florida. He crushed New York. He crushed California. He definitely messed up. Ron DeSantis definitely messed up, but he was one of those governors who became the face of freedom. And I'm not saying he was perfect, but I believe he did a way better job than Trump and a way better job than most Republicans. Not all, but most. Trump knew that that was his weak point to DeSantis. So instead of telling the truth about it or ignoring it, Trump decided to just muddy the water, say whatever. It was just the warm weather. It was just the beaches. You actually did a worse job. Florida's a shitty place to live. Trump moved to Florida. He's a New York Democrat who used to donate to Hillary Clinton, ran to Florida because he's being persecuted by all these liberal judges. And once he gets to Florida, he starts posting like some weird fake website saying that Florida is one of the worst places to live. It's one of the worst places to be a cop. It's one of the worst places to raise your kids. It's one of the worst places to be a teacher. It's one of the worst places to retire. It's one of the worst places to live. It's one of the worst places to die. Like Trump really sent out an email saying that Florida was one of the worst places, says the New York Democrat who donated to Hillary Clinton, who ran to Florida in order to escape liberal tyranny. Nice. Okay. And then he starts trying to say like, the COVID thing, like, just forget about it because you did just as bad of a job as me. And DeSantis was like, well, you gave an award to Dr. Fauci, which is true. It's like you did a lot of weird things. You hired the pharmaceutical lobby, and to DeSantis's credit, he hired Joseph Ladapo for Surgeon General. Joseph Ladapo is the best Surgeon General in the country. Number two isn't even close. It's like LeBron James versus a third grader. I don't know of another Surgeon General in America that is as good as Joseph Ladapo. I don't even think number two is close. And who did Trump hire as Surgeon General? He hired Jerome Adams, who blocked me on Twitter. I think it's now illegal for politicians to block people on Twitter based on some thing. So if he ever runs for office again, he has to unblock me. But I don't really care, because I'm not petty and I'm not litigious, but I remember they passed that, but whatever. He blocked me for doing reporting saying that he was lying. I caught, what's his name? Jerome Adams. He was Trump's Surgeon General. He was pathologically lying during COVID. I was doing awesome reporting, getting millions of views, and I would tag him. So he blocked me. He didn't want people to see my great reporting, and he was shilling masks and vaccine for years later. But in general, DeSantis really did that. So it wasn't really even. But in order to look good, Trump had to just like throw mud on everything and just act like it was the same. And he did it so much that even Gavin Newsom joined in on it. And Gavin Newsom said, listen to Trump, listen to Trump. We did the same thing. COVID's over. You did just as bad of a job as me, DeSantis. And then Trump supporters are so stupid that they started sharing these clips being like, look, Gavin Newsom owned Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis with his little boots got destroyed. I'm like, he got destroyed because Gavin Newsom tried to say that DeSantis messed up as much as Gavin Newsom. Like, it almost feels like Newsom and Trump are working in tandem in order to gaslight everybody on the COVID situation. And when you see clips like this, it doesn't seem that far-fetched. It's like, I don't mind if people criticize DeSantis on COVID, but just admit that Gavin Newsom did a worse job. Don't try to act like they did the same. But are Trump and Gavin Newsom working in tandem for this?
I used to get along great with him, when I was president. I got along really good, Gavin.
Well, you got along with Gavin Newsom?
I did. I really did. He was always very nice to me. He said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job. Oh, he was very nice.
About you?
About me. That's why I could never hit him, because he was so nice to me. I used to get.
So when DeSantis and Gavin Newsom debated, I saw DeSantis was like, basically, you did a horrible job during COVID. And then Newsom goes, no, we pretty much did the same. It's over. You messed up a lot too. Listen to Trump. Even Trump said you messed up. So then Trump supporters shared the clip of Gavin Newsom saying that as if they were owning DeSantis. Like, this is how dumb the average person is now that follows Trump. It's not because all Trump supporters are dumb or vote. I'm not even saying not to vote for Trump. It makes more strategic sense to close the border and vote for Trump. I'm just saying if 1 + 1 isn't 2 anymore, it doesn't matter who you support. You're dumb. And when you're dumb and weak people get taken advantage of. That's why the country's falling apart. I've been watching, Owen Benjamin's been talking about boomers a lot on Twitter. Like, he was saying that boomers are like the most, and I'm sorry for the boomers watching this, but they're the most selfish generation. They neglect their kids. They're super selfish and they just watch television. And I was thinking, because I'm not going to say all boomers are that way, but at the same time, I do think that most boomers like that watch politics, they either obsessively hate on Trump, like they're like crazy liberal boomers who hate Trump, or they're like Trump slobbering boomers who are obsessed with Donald Trump. And I believe it's because boomers hate to take self-accountability for anything. It's like they admit that the world's going to shit and they're like, I don't have to be here for that much longer. It's going to shit. It's like, well, it's kind of going to shit because of you guys. You're not, it's not, you're the only reason. Like, there's other generations too, but like, you take no accountability or responsibility for anything that you've done. So either obsessively hating Trump or obsessively sucking off Trump, it gives you this idea that you could live vicariously through some fake story and that you have to take no accountability in your own lives. Like, when Trump does something good, liberal boomers don't pay attention because it's like they just hate him so much. They think hating Donald Trump makes them good people. And then boomers that love Trump, it's like Trump infringes on 3 different amendments, prints trillions of dollars, implodes the economy, and they just drool and say it's Biden. Like, they can't even process the fact that Trump is doing all these things. They don't even know it. And then you point it out, they think it means you like Joe Biden or something. Like, it's so stupid. But it's because it's easier than taking accountability for how bad the country is going. You know, a true person who takes accountability would be like, listen, liberals are going crazy. However, we got lied to by a lot of Republicans for a long time. We got lied to Democrats by a long time. Yes, we might like Trump more than we liked Mitt Romney, but at the same time, like, he's kind of scamming us too. And it would probably be smart if we pointed out this way the Republican Party, including Trump, who's friends with Lindsey Graham, who's friends with Mike Johnson, who's getting these deals passed for them. He's not that different. They'll know they have to respect us if we know what they're doing and we stand firm and we tell it. It doesn't matter if it's Mike Johnson, Lindsey Graham, or Donald Trump. This is what we mean. We know what happened during COVID now and the pharmaceutical thing. We don't care who does. That's not what most Trump supporters do, and most of them are boomers. They go, no, Trump just got tricked by his advisors. It's like, just stop already. Just stop lying. Just stop taking no accountability. Just stop being so pathetic for 2 seconds. And then the whole country could get fixed. Hating or loving a politician isn't going to fix the country. That's just basically exporting your responsibility for what's going on here to someone else so you don't have to think or do anything or ever change your stubborn opinions. It's so annoying. It's never going to work. So with RFK, to be quite honest, I don't want him to win president. I think he's another fraud on most issues, not for the reason that Trump said, but because he has the same stance as Nancy Pelosi and Trump on the foreign country that Trump says should own Congress, on the foreign country that Ron DeSantis flies to infringe on the First Amendment. So he has every sign of doing the same thing. It's a bipartisan thing, and RFK is mysteriously completely the same as everyone else on that topic and is not good at debating it. Can't even tell Dave Smith tried to say, do you think this lobbying organization has power in politics? And he paused for 10 seconds and goes, I'm not a politician. I wouldn't know. You're not a politician, but you know about Monsanto. You're not a politician, but you know about Pfizer. You're not a politician, but he knows about Ukraine and Russia and can talk about the history. Yeah, RFK is not a politician, but he's running for politics. He's not a politician, but he has an opinion about everything. And he's so eloquent and he knows what he's talking about. But when it comes to the Israel lobby, all of a sudden, RFK has no idea. He's not a politician. That's why I don't care about his campaign, because he's just another fraud. And it sucks because he's so good on other topics. But notice what I'm doing here. 1 + 1 is still 2. I'm not shifting reality to make up something that's not real in order to come to conclusions that aren't there. I'm giving him credit on Monsanto. I'm giving him credit on the pharmaceutical industry. These are RFK's strong points. He's been great on those topics. And while a lot of his environmentalism is shitty, some of it, like the Monsanto element of it, is very important. Republicans don't care about that. The Kentucky Republicans are in cahoots with Pfizer. The North Dakota Trump supporter Doug Burgum took $100,000 from Bill Gates. God knows what's going on to the farmland them. Republicans don't care about your food supply. They hate you. But all these Trump-sucking boomers don't care. They're like, I know everybody's fat and I'm eating poison, but I don't give a shit. So shut up and get out of the way. We know you don't give a shit. That's why the country sucks. Liking or hating Trump's not going to fix that. Everybody's fat in this country because they're eating poison, because they're feeding us poison, and neither party cares about it. That's why a lot of people like RFK, because he's been talking about this for decades, and he's right. He's right. So what are we just going to eat shit for the rest of our lives because you guys want to suck off Donald Trump and your wives want to, like, stop already? You know? Yeah, vote for him. Go vote for him if you want the border closed, but stop acting like he's doing us some great service. They're like, remember how great it was during lockdowns? Well, that doesn't count. That's like saying, you know, the Chiefs didn't lose the Super Bowl. Well, yeah, they did. Well, the fourth quarter doesn't count. The fourth quarter is everything. You can't throw 3 touchdowns, throw 40 interceptions in the fourth quarter and say you won the game and threw 0 interceptions. Trump blew it. and is proud of it. He's proud of his biggest betrayals, which shows you that he's not who people are pretending that he is. Vote for him if you want the border closed. To me, RFK is not a serious candidate. I don't know what he's doing. Is he trying to help Biden win? Possibly. I don't like that. Is he trying to help Trump win? Possibly, but I don't think so. Trump has every right to be annoyed at RFK for potentially stealing the election from him. But just tell the truth, Donald Trump. You won in 2016 when you spoke the truth. As soon as Donald Trump started lying, he started losing favor, in my opinion. I'm not God. I'm not a Christian who's going to pretend like I know which biblical character Donald Trump is. But I will say, from my observation, when Trump told the truth about most things, people liked him. He beat all odds. He beat crazier odds than the 2020 election when everyone was counting him out because he was leaning into the truth. As soon as Trump folded like a lawn chair and started pathologically lying for the pharmaceutical industry and turned into another skis-ball fraud in politics, all of a sudden his favor goes down. He starts losing. He's not there anymore. And then some people are like, oh, he got cheated. Other people are like, he's still president. He's still president. He's fighting the military. It's like, never mind. So to me, I mean, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the country, but like, if you want to make RFK look bad, make him look bad by telling the truth. It's not that hard to tell the truth about RFK's flaws as a Democrat and a leftist in a country that, in my opinion, definitely needs God and definitely needs a conservative, in my opinion. I'm sorry if that bothers people, but the Republican Party's fake, and Trump is totally not concerned with the fact that Mike Johnson just scammed us by sending $100 billion to a foreign country because Trump was behind it. One of the biggest scams in modern history was, in my view, in my perspective, if I'm allowed to say this on these platforms, the lockdowns, forced masking, not just forced vaccination, but Operation Warp Speed vaccine socialism, tens of billions of dollars to the most corrupt industry with pharmaceutical lobbyists running the government so they have no liability shields under an emergency. It's one of the biggest scams in modern history. And Donald Trump is proud of it. He's proud of his original lockdown. He's proud of being the father of the vaccine. He's a proud scammer. He's disgusting. But all these losers want to just suck off the dirt on his shoes. So they're like, oh. Even by what he said right there, if he would have just said, RFK's too far left, I'm a real candidate. He's not a real candidate. He's Ross Perot. He's just in the way. I'll close the border. I'll fix the wars. I'll do that. Sure, say that. Tell the truth, Donald Trump. I liked you for the truth. And no offense, but this is the difference between me and all these other pathetic, cowardly, fake men that call themselves men. I liked Trump because he told the truth. I've known that the pharmaceutical industry was corrupt since I was 18. You could find songs of mine. One of the first songs I ever wrote when I was 19 years old, 2007, 2008. I was talking about the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not an idiot. I was not no offense, I wasn't a stupid boomer ignoring all this stuff. I had friends dying of pills. I saw what pills were doing to the adults. I saw what pills were doing to the kids. I saw the pharmaceutical industry destroying America, destroying America, destroying America. My whole life, pharmaceutical destroying America. I never would have liked Donald Trump if he was the father of the vaccine or some sort of pharmaceutical shill. As soon as he gave them $18 billion, he's Judas. He just gave $18 billion of taxpayer dollars to one of the most corrupt industry that's killing millions of people. I'm not saying they're not saving anybody with some of their drugs, but it's gone so over the top. It's so crazy. The average person is on multiple pills. We're literally cattle. I'm not even joking when I call people tax cattle, including myself to some extent, because I'm stuck in this country. But or I'm not going to say stuck, but I love this country. It's like we're literally cattle. What do they do to cattle to fatten up cattle? They pump them up with all this pharmaceutical stuff to GMO them and make them bigger so they have more food. Why is everybody fat? You're cattle. Your food is cattle. Your pharmaceuticals are cattle. You're cattle. You're tax cattle. Moo, 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 gulp, 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 moo, 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 pay taxes, and they'll give it to a foreign country. And then Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are going to pass a speech law for that foreign country. And then they're going to fly back and wear a cowboy hat, and you're going to be mooing, asking for them to throw cattle fodder at you. I'm just not going to play as long as I'm a man, not just of God, an American man. What all those old songs are talking about. That's what I want to be, not tax cattle, getting swallowed, sucked up by pharmaceuticals. So when Trump sold us out to the pharmaceutical industry and gave them tens of billions of dollars of taxpayer money and then bought their doses with taxpayer money, yeah, the mandate sucked and that was a different level of corruption. But what he did was traitorous, betraying you. And no one even cares. And that's the problem with the country, is that no one cares. So that's the point of this video. The same way with the left, you don't want to say there's 20,000 genders and men can be women and women can be men, because then nothing means anything. There is no math. There is no science. There is no up. There is no down. You've lost touch of reality. Following a politician scrambling your brain is no better. Republicans don't care about you. They're not going to fix the food. They're working for the pharmaceutical industry. And look at what Trump does with an ounce of scrutiny. Pretty much the only good thing, in my opinion, about RFK running, because I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's even going to win. I'm not sure if it's for himself or for just raising awareness. But to me, the greatest thing about RFK running is the fact that a lot of people that didn't know who he was, now they know who he is and they could listen to his podcast, and he's a wealth of information on pharmaceutical corruption. He wrote a book. I haven't read it in full, but I own it, called The Real Anthony Fauci. Donald Trump gave an award to Anthony Fauci. RFK wrote an entire book about his entire history of corruption. And that's what Donald Trump wants to fight RFK on? It would be like Ryan Garcia picking a fight with a 4-year-old. Except Trump has mind-controlled tens and hundreds of millions of people where they're going to act like what he said is cool, or they're going to be like that. It's like he's trying to do the same thing the left does, completely invert reality, so nothing matters anymore. Nothing's real. Nothing's what it seems. Like, no, Trump is wrong on the pharmaceuticals. And to call RFK fake, so what's real? Taking money from them? What's real? Selling the country out to them? What's real? Hiring lobbyists to run HHS and FDA? That's real. You're the one that's going to call him fake on RFK. If you're going to call RFK fake on vaccines, you better have proof, and you better have a more hardline stance on it. Not Donald Trump, the father of it. He's gross. But like all my streams recently, not that people should, like, I personally, and some people will get mad at this, I think it makes more sense to vote for Trump than RFK, just voting wise. I don't think RFK is running a real campaign. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's going to come close. And honestly, even if he did, I'm not even that pumped for him, because he sells out, in my opinion, on the most important topic that's really centered to everything. So it's like, I just don't trust him at all, because I actually respect myself, and I don't take orders from somebody like I'm a dog. Someone's like, so who are you saying we should vote for? It's like, I'm not your dog trainer, bro. Vote for who you want. I'm either voting for Trump or I'm leaving the ballot blank. At this moment, I'll probably vote locally Republican and leave it blank, because Trump disgusts me. Every time I think about voting him because Biden's crazy and trying to raise interest rate or raise like capital gains tax, I'm like, oh, I better vote for Trump then. He comes out and says something so disgusting where I'm like, what a fraud, what a scammer this guy is. I don't know. I'll see how I feel on election day, but I've been getting jacked. I've been going to the gym, just getting yoked. So I might just keep getting jacked. I might just go to the gym and work on myself on election day, unless he can inspire me. Right now, he's not. Let me know what you guys think. But I do want to say this too, and I want to end on this note, on a positive and maybe productive note. With Twitter right now, because a lot of influencers and people that have big organizations, they spend a lot of time on Twitter, X. We've seen the culture shifting in multiple ways. Tucker Carlson left Fox, he joined X. Candace Owens left Daily Wire, she spoke out. People are getting to this crossroads where they're tired of just playing it safe and playing it normal, because safe and normal is really just playing it fake, and we're going to lose. Even if we win, we're going to lose at this point. So I'm seeing the Tuckers and the Candaces. You could think what you want about it. I don't care if you agree, but it's like, they're like, whatever. I'm not in this to just get along. I'm going to say what I really think. And if people don't like it, oh well. And that's like what's going on. And then people like Matt Walsh, people that, yes, they're very bold. Yes, Matt Walsh is very brave. He's made perhaps the greatest, conservative documentary in recent history or modern history. I consider that What Is a Woman documentary, like, historic. Like, there's not a lot of documentaries being made that are hitting topics like that. I mean, he really made a smash hit, whether you liked it or not. There is a topic that he won't talk about because it's the line at Daily Wire. But because they fired Candace, because they're pushing it into law, now Matt's talking about it. But he's not just talking about it because he wants to. He's talking about it because people are realizing that he's being fake. When you realize people are being fake and you say it, then they have more incentive to be real. Do the same thing to Donald Trump on the vaccine, on anything he's lying about, on the speech laws. Do that same thing to Donald Trump. Stop licking the dirt off his shoes like a pathetic dog and acting like it's chocolate chip, your favorite flavor at Baskin Robbins. It's pathetic. I don't care if you're 60, 50, 40, 45, 10. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Like, I don't think people that young listen to politics, but you get what I'm saying. It's just like, pay attention. And then in general, then we'll get change. Until then, we can't let them just lie to us and be like, oh, then we don't know anything. Then you end up just spouting talking points, and they're like 4 years behind. I'm not opposed to a debate, but sometimes I'll read certain comments and it's like, these people, I'm like, are they even real people? It's like they're just spouting off the same 3 talking points that are 4 years outdated. I don't think they've thought since Trump won in 2016, or they haven't changed their hard drive. Like, they need to replace their memory drive or something, because it's like they're so far behind. But that's what happens when you just follow a guy that's rhetoric is falling far behind, and he is willing to lie about certain topics, and he is willing to pervert reality to the point just to make DeSantis look bad. You have to say Florida's only good because it's sunny. You can't give him any credit. Like, you know, you can't say he did good on this, and this. He's done a good job in Florida. I wanted to move to Florida, but I'm a stronger leader. I'm better on foreign policy. I'm the one who's going to fix the country. That's what I respect. But maybe Trump knows his audience, and he knows most people in America are tax cattle, so he just treats you like animals. I don't know. Because for me, if Trump said, you know, I'll give DeSantis credit on this, and this, because he has done a really great job on that, and everybody knows it, and I respect you enough to tell you what you already know, because everybody already knows this. I mean, all my supporters were saying this a month ago. But I'm better on foreign policy. I'm going to sell out less. I'm the real deal. I'm Donald Trump. I deserve another term. I'm the victim. They're coming after me in the way. Then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because he's being honest. He's at least providing reality and telling the truth to me because he respects me. He doesn't respect his fan base because he doesn't have to respect his fan base because they don't respect themselves. Respect yourself. Don't allow this type of fraudulent behavior. And I just told you, this is not a cosign for RFK. And it's certainly not a cosign for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is equivalent to a trash bin, in my opinion. Joe Biden is something that you see and you throw your, paper towel leftover roll in it because he's a trash bin. I'm not asking you to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not asking you to vote for Democrats. I'm not even asking you to vote for RFK. But if Trump needs to pathologically lie about pharmaceuticals while he's sold out to the industry in order to win an election, then who is this guy? Then what's the point at that point? I don't care who you vote for. I want to know when people are going to wake up in this country. Are people going to wake up if Trump wins, or are they going to fall back asleep for 4 years? Are people going to wake up if Joe Biden wins and they realize nothing's going to happen? Are people going to wake up if Trump wins and then he starts doing the same thing as Mike Johnson and then it becomes unavoidable? I don't know when people are going to wake up, but that's what I'm more interested in. In the culture situation going on, there is an awakening happening slowly, but it's not because of politicians saying this or that. It's because people getting a spine and using their platform and leverage to speak the truth, not just basically silencing themselves because they want to get invited to a fancy dinner with a politician. Like, that's the same thing that politicians do. That's why they're sellouts. You think they don't know what I know? RFK knows everything about everything. Dave Smith asked him about a foreign lobby, right? RFK, he could talk about Ukraine for 50 minutes straight, everything. But when it comes to, does a foreign lobby that has a lot of power in America have power? He pauses for 10 seconds and goes, I don't know. I wouldn't know. I'm not a politician. You think he doesn't know? You think someone in Congress for 20 years doesn't know? You think Matt Gaetz doesn't? They all know. They just don't talk about it because there's no incentive for them to talk about it. You don't care, so they don't need to care. Once people actually care, that's when these discussions start becoming mainstream. And I'll tell you what, Thomas Massey tweeted it out today where he's like, they're basically moving with all these new bills to outlaw the criticism of Israel. He pretty much tweeted that word for word. They're conflating, this with this in order to basically almost like they're working on it. They're passing bills, the quote unquote deep state or the Biden administration is like working to put together a task force to police speech on America. When you look at Europe and you look at Canada and all these places that don't have free speech, and you're like, how did it get to that point? How did they arrest you over tweeting about Muslims? How did they arrest you for tweeting about homosexuals? How did it get to that point? How are they throwing people in prison for questioning history? The Republicans and the Democrats together, including Trump, including DeSantis, including both sides, they're doing it right now. Matt Walsh is talking about it now because it's getting closer and closer and closer, and more people are realizing, and he can't work without talking about it because people know what a phony he's been on the topic. I'm not saying this because I hate anybody. I'm not saying this because I care about other countries or this or that, or I'm so mean. I'm American. God bless all the countries of the world. I love all the people of the world in different ways because every culture has something epic about them, and I don't hate any culture at all, ever. But the First Amendment's being sold out in America. That's what I'm talking about. And you're not going to realize it until you're getting arrested for tweeting certain things. It's coming now, right now. Trump is like a circus clown not talking about it. RFK is a circus clown not talking about it. DeSantis, they're all circus clowns. They're not talking about this. Oh, look at the vaccines fake, this and that. Doink, 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 doink. Ron's a rhino. He's a rhino. They're doing what I'm saying, and no politician is talking about it. Maybe that's why they're doing all these things. So you never realize what they're doing. And then it's here, and then it's too late. And now we live in a slave country like most of the world is. We're one of the only countries that has a document that protects us from, it's like, even with the lockdown, Sweden didn't lock down like America. Sweden was one of the only countries that didn't lock down because they have a constitution. Aren't you embarrassed? As Sebastian Maniscalco would say, aren't you embarrassed? America has a constitution too, but guess what? Trump took it and wiped his ass with it. Sweden took their constitution and used it, and they didn't lock down their country. And you know what Trump did after he wiped his ass with the constitution? He tweeted in May, 2 months after the lockdown, Sweden made the wrong decision. They should have locked down like America. If you're not suspicious at this point, you're just as dumb as a liberal. You are a liberal. You don't even like, that's not a red flag. The leader of America telling Sweden that they should lock down when Sweden used their constitution and said, we would lock down if we wanted to. You know how like these like European liberals are. They're like, well, technically, we would lock the country down if we want to, but we have a constitution, so we can't do that. And you're like, okay, well, you know, Sweden got something right. That's crazy. The liberals got something right. They're not locking their country down. And Trump's like, Sweden, you should have locked down. You made a big mistake. Okay, like I locked down. I save a lot of lives. What is your job as an American? Is it to say, yeah, that's right, lockdowns are good? Or is your job to say, why are we wiping our ass with the Constitution when a socialist liberal country is more free than we are? But that's where the fork in the road is. And 95% of people just go the road of like NPC sheepazoids for Donald Trump. The point of this video should be very clear. I think I've said enough. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I don't care who you vote for. I'm not voting for RFK, and I'm not voting for Joe Biden. With that being said, why would you say that that RFK is wrong about vaccines when you're the father of the vaccine? You're trying to pervert reality. He's trying to tell you 1 + 1 is 4 when I say it is, but it's 1 + 1 is 2 when I say it is. I'm not falling for it. In my opinion, neither should you. God bless you. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back soon.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast.
That's the wrong button. Oh, well. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. beautiful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description, or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to